when I talk.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, but you can.
Have y'all seen the new versions of the Big Book that are floating around in 2025? There's I ordered some for the coffee shop here. I thought I was getting what I've seen in the past, the large print soft cover Big Books.
Yeah.
But it arrived, it was pretty thin. It's just the 164.
Oh, weird.
Interesting.
Doesn't have a million stories in the back that people fight over whether or not that's really the Big Book or not. and now there's the Plain Talk. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah.
I heard they came out with a new Big Book with quote unquote updated language.
I haven't absorbed it. Everything I like my 164 and I like my doctor's opinion. That's about it. That's where I hang. But this new Plain Talk, everything I've seen in it is totally acceptable. I haven't seen anything in there that went, what are these kids doing with this stuff? But I made a joke before we were, and it was a joke about hush up, the men folk are talking. Because there is some jarring language and it gets more jarring with every passing year of our women folk have said, like, oh boy, that dog ain't gonna hunt.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful that, the language in meetings is now, they God is no longer a dude. I think that's just fine. Any thoughts on the changing language or of recovery? I'm looking at you, Jocelyn. Do you get jarred by them, or do you just roll with it? Who cares?
At this point, I roll with it. But when I first got here in 2006, I had just graduated as a women and gender studies major, don't you know?
No, I did not know
I was very offended. And I had a lot of issues with all the he's and hims and gods. And, and I was very happy to take anyone hostage after the meeting to let them know just what I thought about it. So it was a barrier for me initially. Now it doesn't even register.
Right. Yeah.
But I would hate for that to be a challenge for somebody and, an obstacle to them coming in and hearing the message and getting the recovery that they need. So I appreciate some fidelity, and I think options are good because, yes, we're all alcoholics, but at the same time, we like to hear messages a little bit differently. And so let's have a few different options for people with the same message.
Very smart. Hadn't looked at it that way. I'm so old that I took AP English in the 1970s, and I had a senior AP teacher who was no joke. She had me diagramming a sentence to within an inch of its life. I've lost this skill along with long division. I do remember a subject of indeterminate sex or gender was to be referred to in the masculine.
Yes.
So when customers come, when a customer walks up, be sure and tell him that that was the way a sentence was supposed to. I mean, it was them was the rules.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm all with this they thing, even though I'm just old. So I remember when stuff used to be different, and I'll read a sentence in the newspaper and go, that Mrs. Gant would have put red ink on this one. But I think it's great. I have anybody who's a regular listener of this podcast knows that I've got a transgender son, and I've interviewed him twice on the air, and it's been a fantastic learning experience.
Yeah.
It's been
nice.
Great. My son, Jeff.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but Brandon, great dude. You got to get us together next time he's in town.
He said something on this podcast about the language of gender, sex. I still have a little clumsy with even the difference between gender and sex and those areas of vocabulary. But I'm trying, and he knows that. And my son said to me, well, look, as long as somebody's heart's in the right place, I don't care if they, get a word misstep. And not all trans people have the same expectations of vocabulary.
Right.
And I said to Brandon, well, that's not exactly true. I know somebody whose heart is absolutely in the right place, and you put them on the shit list because they put a foot wrong with language. And my son said, well, have I done that lately? No, that was about 10 years ago. And he was, I'm trying to get better. Like, shit, you got me. I'm out of bullets. When somebody's trying to improve and be kinder, it's hard to yell at them.
Love that.
So you're a couple, huh?
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
How does it ever happen? I mean, yeah, we met at a AA function at a party.
When boy meets girl on the AA
I was
campus.
just about to say
And where's that
yeah.
from? Is that the 12 and 12 or something? What is it?
I don't know where that's from, or if it's from a grapevine that somebody quotes a lot. Yeah. I don't know. We were at a barbecue celebrating, I don't remember how many months or if it was 1 year. Maybe this guy had just gotten a year and he had a barbecue to celebrate. And so a bunch of people came over and hung out. I was only there maybe 20 minutes, but we met petting his dog.
You and Jeff.
Yes.
That's not a euphemism.
You know, how dare you?
Yeah,
you know,
I stole your joke. Sorry.
We refrain from dirty jokes in my life. So that's always, I'm a dog person and I hate fucking parties. And so that's all. You'll find me over there on all fours.
Exactly. I honestly didn't have I was still sort of early in recovery, and I was too shy to look people in the eye, and I just wanted to sort of be over there with the animal and not have to.
Well, I'm 5'6", you're 6'6", so you're what... there's an old Woody Allen movie where they said, go talk to him. And he goes, he's too tall to talk to.
Yeah.
I fell out of my chair at that one. Yeah. Okay, so Cupid's arrow, or did it take a while?
It took a little while, but that's how we first met, and we realized we had some stuff in common, and our pasts sort of have a lot of overlap. You know, she grew up in a town in New Hampshire that my dad grew up in, and that I am personally very familiar with because my grandmother lived there until she was 90. So I would spend long weekends in this little town.
That's weird.
It is weird. There's just coincidence after coincidence. I moved here from New York. She had studied in New York. We were 10 blocks apart. So it was just like, oh my God. I just kind of felt like, what the hell am I doing meeting you here in Santa Fe when we could have met there, or we could have met there, we could have met there. We've just got...
There's probably something to that much commonality, right? That helps.
Yeah, I think there's an immediate familiarity that happens when you have that much in common and that much shared, at least geographical history. You know, to be perfectly honest, and perhaps I shouldn't share this on this recovery podcast, but I didn't take him very seriously because he had less than a year sober.
That's a pretty well established, theoretical custom in the rooms.
Yes. And so
you would be the first in history to
I would be the first in history to 13th step. Yes. Ever. And so I was kind of like, I mean, I remember at one point, poor Jeff, he said,
he had months, you had years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had almost a year.
He had almost a year.
Yeah.
I remember at one point when I was being particularly obnoxious, he said something like, well, no, I really like you. And I was like, you don't know what you like.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
You don't even have a year yet. Like, I'm just a substitute for the drink. Like, you'll figure this out.
Okay.
And he
I just got chills.
Right.
Holy
and he
mackerel.
came back with, I'm 39 years old. I'm pretty sure I know what I like.
Been around the block.
Yeah.
And they were high miles. It was city miles at 39.
That's right.
Totally.
Well, you have a rebuttal here?
I actually don't really remember this conversation actually happening. She was right. I totally didn't know what I liked. No, we were both right. I think she has a valid
Wait a
point.
minute.
Like
two things can be true at the same time.
Two things can be true.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah. So yeah, and it just man, what do I even say about that? Yeah, I don't recall that conversation happening. But it all sounds like stuff both of us could say. And
so the old alcoholic. What does an alcoholic bring on the second date? A U-Haul. And so did y'all wrap things up that fast or no?
No, we moved in together after we'd been dating like a year and a half, but we fell into step really quickly. I mean, both of us say, I think we had been actually dating for about a month. And I just knew this was my person.
Gotcha. Yeah, sure.
I had also been around the block enough to know that
what you didn't want.
Yeah, and that wow, there's something different here. And so I think I was more right. I would have brought the U-Haul, and I think it's really actually was great for our relationship that we didn't do that. Right, that he had the maturity to sort of say, slow down. But we had people.
Jeff, you said slow your roll to her? Or by your actions, you said as much?
Well, yeah, I mean, what? No, you keep going.
Okay. But we were a couple that people would meet us when we'd been dating for 4 or 5 months and ask us how many years we had been together.
Y'all are pretty coupley. They're not wrong.
Yeah. Look at us. We're wearing matching.
Our dogs even look like us.
Yeah.
Here's a, I wasn't always old. I got sober at 32 and, my, I guess then fiance, and I attended a home group that skewed young. There's a lot of young, attractive people, and it makes a difference. You know, it's different when you're in a room full of 30-year-olds who are still in the game, and a room full of old fossils that have hung up their guns long ago, and they're married or they're bachelor farmers, whatever the hell. But I'm a good egg in that department, and my fiance said something to me. I cannot know if it's true. And here's what she said. She said, people either vibe available or they don't vibe available. There's some unspoken like energy that's coming off with somebody who's in the game and looking around, or somebody's like, keep tell your story walking, not into it. And she said, that's why girls aren't hitting on you. You're good looking and for in your small, limited way, but you're not out there.
You present as not looking.
And I got a mouth on me. I make dirty jokes all day, every day, but it's different from, making goo-goo eyes at girls. And in meetings, that is, under 1 year is, in my book, a no-no.
Yeah. That's a great rule of thumb. I mean, it's just like, I do think about my recovery, and I do think about that first year, and I think about, your comment about you don't have a year yet. You don't even know what you want. It's like, it is true. It's like that my life was such a mess, and the pieces of burning rubble were still falling back to earth. And it's just like, it is, emotion is a weird thing, and the swings are big. And it's just, I think, a very safe rule of thumb to just sort of stay away from romantic entanglements until you just.
I'm sorry. How long have you been married?
5.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How in the hell did that happen?
I know, right?
Coming up on 10 years together.
Coming up on 10 years together. So yeah, we met at that party, and we didn't get together right away. That just sort of put her on my radar, and I think me on hers, or whatever. And we started seeing each other in meetings, and I started
sideways glances at meetings. That
a little bit. Oh, she is cool, and people start coming up to me like, you should talk to her. She's I don't know, maybe a good fit for you. I was like, oh, okay. We dated a little, and then stopped for a little, actually. And for me, that's the thing that sort of actually solidified what a special person she was, is how we decided to take that break. Just the way she talked about her emotions, and the way she talked about her needs in a way that wasn't blamey or wasn't manipulative. That was honestly, people who know recovery and work a program are beautiful and incredible. And I came from a world of dodging truths or manipulating and lying types of relationships. And this was the real deal, because she herself is the real deal, but works her program and owns her side of the street, and doesn't dump blame where it shouldn't go. And it's just it was so special to see that, and just like, wow, let's keep talking. This is pretty cool.
So 10 years in, what happens on a bad day when one of y'all is stirring the chili clockwise instead of counterclockwise, and that pisses the other one off? What's neutral corners? Do you jump right into talking about, you're kind of pissing me off. Can we talk about what's the approach?
Wow, that's a good question. Who wants to go first? Honestly, we don't get too heated. I think. You want me to go first? If you want
go for it.
I mean, sure. I'm an annoying dude. I'm sure I rub her the wrong way quite a bit. I get my feathers ruffled sometimes too. We don't explode. We don't scream. We don't yell. I had a couples counselor
said people basically annoy each other, and I thought that was a hilarious. And there's something in that. I don't think she's wrong. But so when you say you don't, yell and scream and throw plates, is that tamping it down, or are you just not that upset deep down inside?
No, well, okay. My observation feels like when I do something that is upsetting or annoying or needs to be addressed. Here's an example. I put something on the kitchen table that shouldn't go on the kitchen table. I put a pair of shoes up there, a pair of slippers that I didn't want the dog to eat.
Engine block.
Yeah, engine block. And instead of saying like, get those fucking things off the table, you slob, it's not my favorite that you do that.
Not 100% in love with your jock strap on the charcuterie tray.
So it's a mindfulness. It's a mindfulness of expressing what's upsetting without trying to harm the other person that she is so good at doing.
Okay, just playing fair.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
And I think keeping things, it's that idea of like sometimes dirty dishes are just dirty dishes, right? Of not making the fact that his slippers are on the table. And I know exactly why they're on the tables, because we have a young dog that has
destroyed our last pair of slippers.
There have been some casualties.
Your dog's an idiot, let's face it.
So I understand the thought process, but I don't like it. So it doesn't have to be about, he always does this, or right. It's not. It doesn't have to be the pile on. Always and never.
Words.
Right. One thing that I think helps our relationship work is, both Jeff and I are pretty sensitive and pick up on each other's emotions. And that was really hard in the beginning because you're trying to figure out the other person and where are they at. And both of us have this radar that's out there all the time. But what that
and plus you're an alcoholic, so you can read minds and see around corners and predict the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see me. So it forced us to be emotionally honest on a level that honestly I had never been and didn't feel prepared for, because he would look at me sometimes when we first started dating and he'd go, what was that? Like, you just had a feeling. I said that thing, and then you had a feeling.
You do a pretty good Jeff imitation.
What was that?
He's my buddy. You sound just like him. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. What was that? And I'm like, I don't want to share that. Like, I'm not ready. Like that was my insecurity that flashed in front of my face. Do I now have to tell this new person that I'm dating that made me feel insecure? And it was like, well, he already sees it. It's going to make it worse not to. And so I feel like for me, like I had to just kind of open up the kimono, and share what was actually going on.
Well, to me, that's the actual, the word I think of as intimacy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not spooning and who likes the window open and stuff, but that.
Yeah.
Now, there is a line in the 164 that says, "We alcoholics are sensitive people." And I read that and went, what a lovely compliment. And then the next thing it said, it says next, "It takes many of us years to outgrow this serious defect."
Right, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So touchy as an old cook, as James Dean said in Giant.
Yeah. But I think early on, we made a commitment to just keep things clean. So if there was something...
Do you do that don't go to sleep mad rule? Is that a rule? An overt discussed rule? Okay.
It's not a rule. But what we try and do is if I say something that is intentional or unintentionally a little jab, we've made or vice versa, we've sort of made the pact that we're going to say something. And even if it's not right in the moment, because oftentimes it's hard to say something, we'll circle back and go, that thing you said about that comment that you made, I feel
in 1991.
Right. Yeah. No, but and I think what's cool. I mean, I remember distinctly being in the car with Jeff driving back from, I think, his parents' house. I had said some comment and I knew as soon as it came out of my mouth that it just sounded kind of shitty. We let it sit.
A misguided joke, or was something else?
Yeah. Because
I got a mouth on me. I make jokes all day long, and I know sometimes I'm going to pay the price.
Yeah, but I think this one, it was a little, I'll take ownership for it. It was a little passive aggressive. I said some, some little comment.
That was the cow Hampshire coming out in you there?
Some little barb. It sat for a little bit. And then later Jeff said, listen, I got to circle back to this. You said that comment, and I'm not saying that I don't even know if you meant anything by it. And I kind of have some judgment about myself that.
God damn! Look at the advanced vocabulary, you guys.
He'd say, I even have some judgment about myself that it bothered me.
Yeah.
But I have to own up that it bothered me. And then I get the opportunity to either continue to run away from it, or I get to say, you know what, I hear you, and I'm sorry I said that. Right? Like that's, and so we try really hard to keep, just to keep, I came from a family with the cosmic tally sheet, like, oh, that's one I'm adding to the list. Right. And then I would save that list of grievances. And then at some point it would get so long and so hot that it would just blow up. And so we try not to do that. This is
something you did in the pre-Jeff era, or something you've done with him? Okay. I got you.
No.
Well, we get older and we get better.
Yeah.
If you're trying to.
Yeah. That was my family of origin. You just like, right. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And my joke is always, I don't know any human being that's ever let anything go.
Right.
Ever.
Right. Well, you grab onto the bumper of the bus and it's doing 5 miles an hour, then 10. By the time it gets up to about 40, you're doing cartwheels down Cerrillos, and you go, wow, at least I let go of it. Like, you could have done that at 2 miles an hour.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Or maybe you couldn't have. But that's fantastic. I can see why things are working. You guys have have you done couples counseling, or is this just how you've come to it in life?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of therapists in our circle. She's a therapist. We have tons of friends that are therapists. We talk to everybody in this field as often as we.
Oh,
we have a lot of tools.
Look, I'm trying to pick on something that I'm not seeing any problems in, but there is an old thing about her being a therapist, and that what is it? The shoemaker's kids are barefoot. It's like, but you do bring the stuff that you get paid to do 9 to 5. That helps you at home talking about stuff.
I think so. I mean,
sounds like it.
I haven't been working as a therapist in a little while, but.
But the woman who officiated our wedding is a therapist, and we just have a lot of that in our circle. And I think I really am curious about my own mind, the human mind, et cetera. And so I'm eager to learn and eager to grow. There are times where it's like I'll have it pointed out that I did something that I don't want to take an honest look at. It takes me a good day to sort of see it for what it really was, but I want to grow and say, God, yeah, I did do that thing. I did take that personally when I shouldn't have, I think our biggest, one of our biggest sort of attributes is that we're both curious about ourselves and both we both recognize that we've kept getting better. We both recognize that.
Example, what's something you're curious about yourself?
Why is it that, I mean, gosh, that's a hard answer on the spot. Like, I'd have to think of an example, but,
You're next, so you can go to school on his dumbass. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what am I curious about myself?
Yeah.
Why do I sometimes take it personally if someone offers critique? And why do sometimes I not? What is it about the comment?
Oh, and why sometimes not? That's the twist.
See how come I can hear feedback on one day or about one specific thing, and it just be like, hey, that's a great note. And then with other things, it feels like I'm being judged. Well, that feeling is on me, right? What is it about my experience on this planet, my backstory, that brings a wound to that conversation on that day where I didn't the other day? So I want to learn about myself.
Okay, here's something I don't know about Joss that I do know about you. You're an actor and a musician.
Yes.
And
a damn good one.
I have, you or me?
No.
Okay.
You too.
I do know.
Boys, you're all very good.
I'm a little better than him. I had I worked for a tyrant in a Western swing band, and she was excellent. She was an excellent singer, and she was an excellent musician and arranger, and she was a friggin' asshole. She had personality problems galore. She was hard on me, and I worked with her for 6 months till she fired me. She fires more people than Dwight Yoakam, and I got better, and I put up with it because I was like, you know what? She's good. She's friggin' good. I know she's a dick. I know it. That's all in my head. But when somebody's really got their program together as a musician, I'll take more shit off them than somebody's just, I don't know if that's in the, I'm going to pivot, and I'll let you off the hook of what you're curious about yourself that you'd like to work, unless you want to slide something in.
No,
I want to ask, and I don't know your background anywhere near as well as I know Jeff's, but what's it like being married to an actor? Because he's a real, like that, you know, I love that joke in Naked Gun of when the mayor...
That was a Shakespeare in the Park production. Yeah, when I see 5 weirdos dressed in togas stabbing an innocent person in full view of 100 viewers, I shoot the bastards. That's my policy. It's like, that was a Shakespeare in the Park production of Julius Caesar, you moron.
No, but she said you left out the funniest part.
You killed 5 actors. Good ones.
Thank you. So he's a good actor.
He is a good actor.
And at a super high level, a high degree of difficulty, and he kills everything he shoots at. I'm impressed. I've seen him crush Shakespeare and Tennessee Williams and Mammoth. Jesus, you really are a hammer. So, in other words, I'm saying this is not just some guy who's fooling around with it. Your husband's the real deal. Any effect there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in part just because it's who he is, right? So it comes with the deal. I think, when we first got together, I would ride the waves with him. So every time he got, an audition, right, I'd be like, what time is it? Oh, it's happening at 2:05. Oh, I'm going to send I'm going to be thinking about him at 2:05. And
this is you.
This is me. I would ride the waves with him, and he is, to be an actor, I think you have to be incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
I tell people it's like going on 75 job interviews a year and you often don't get any. I'm not that resilient.
I definitely am. And he'll back me up on this, that we have the same agent. And even though he's tall and young and handsome, and I'm an old fossil, we're often up for the same movies, different roles, and we're pals.
Yeah.
So we can say, did they bring you back for that? Or what did you hear about shoot dates and stuff? And I can tell that, man, 99 out of 100, when I walk out of an audition room, I'm done with it. I've forgotten that it ever happened.
Right.
And he's calling me 20 days later going, it's 20 days. It's over, right? I mean, I was like, I don't know. Which job are we talking about? I don't care. So I know you good, bad. I don't know. But I know you get beaten up by that stuff more than I stopped giving a shit ages ago.
Well, I've made like your story about Brandon. In years past, I was a lot more like that, I think, than I am now. I think it's gotten a lot better.
Has it? That's great, because you're my friend, and I would like you to be happier.
Yeah, no, I have a very different perspective now than I did. And when I was earlier in recovery, my world was small, and the wreckage was still so great that booking a job felt like the way out, the only way out. And if I booked something, then that meant that I'm a worthy human being and I'm not this disaster that I really feel like I am. And I'm making some money and I can claw my way out of this hole that I feel like I'm in. And now I know I'm not in a hole. And my world is different. My perspective on that is different. But yeah, I do still get beaten up. I do still want things. I do still want the job that I go out for, and it is hard. And Jocelyn was actually making a point about the waves that she is the my partner. What were you about to say about that? I know what you're about to say. I like this point, so I'd like to hear you say it.
Well, hopefully it's the point I was going to make. If not, please redirect me.
Yeah.
No, so I used to ride the waves with him, and then I realized that just wasn't good for me, and it wasn't good for us. Because then I would get really disappointed. You
were making an effort to stay on top of the minutiae of his day, or it was really inside you? You really cared?
No, I really cared because it was something that he really wanted. And it was sort of like, I was like, oh, and the fantasy, right? Of like, oh, he's going to book these parts and what's that going to, so I just invested. And then I realized like, this isn't working for me. Like that's his thing. He books it. He doesn't book it. He, whatever. Like I can't ride the waves. But the ways in which I think it has affected our relationship is, Jeff as an artist, he has created a life that really centers on his art, right? And allows him to be able to create and to be an artist and to be creative. I grew up with just that so deprioritized. It was like, be practical, make a living, compete, be financially secure. So there have been times where I have been not honoring the artist in me, not honoring my creative self and creativity, and sort of been forcing myself into these jobs that I hate that are super stressful. And I will get resentful because it's like, well, here's Jeff as my foil, right? To say, well, actually you can create a life where you honor that within you. And sometimes
what are we talking about? What are you into?
Well, I've started painting.
Yeah. Great. What medium?
Acrylic.
Yeah.
Which has been super fun. I started taking abstract acrylic painting classes.
It's hard, isn't it?
I don't know. My whole strategy was...
it's hard for me.
My whole strategy was...
talentless.
It's abstract.
Yes.
So that means, if you think my stick figure sucks, well, you just don't understand the feeling. Right? Like if it's abstract, then it gives me permission to not have to have it be anything. Like I can just paint, and if I suck, no one knows because it's abstract.
Listen, y'all, the saying in show business, always leave them wanting more. We've run a little long, and I love you both, and I am going to have you back. This has been a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherman.
Thanks for having us on.